What is up, YouTube? This is Hypergun, your chap with the cat, back again for another video, specifically the newest edition of Throwdown Thursday. Now, as I said previously in the week, this one is going to again be for my Dragunity deck, specifically the newest and most recent installment in it. Till recently, actually, I had had two different versions of the Dragunity deck. One that I used that was current with the TCG, minus a couple of things, and then one that was just, that used anything, even OCG. But fortunately, thanks to Cross Souls giving me Harpy's Harpist, I can finally show you my Dragunity deck in its purest and most powerful form to date. I'd even argue, like I said a while back, that this current version is probably as good as it was back when I still had 3 Ravines and 3 Tempest. But that's just because it has more options, it's more diverse, and I'm stronger as a duelist now for having to learn to fight without Ravine. So, but anyway, let's just go ahead and get on with this, shall we? Alright, so I'm going to do this one a little bit differently than I usually do, because I actually managed to get some pretty decent ones. And sadly, majority of them didn't actually get to be finished, because, again, people rage quit! Sorry. But in this particular instance, I'm going to start things off by showing you guys a couple of OTKs, and then I'll get into the duels. The duels went on for a decent amount of time, but unfortunately I was never able to actually finish any of them. Okay, so this first one's going to be real quick. It is one turn. I'm on the wrong side. What I'm going to be showing you guys is the OTK for Dragunity Spear of Destiny or Dragunity Divine Lance in the TCG. Now, a lot of people think that now that we have Dragunity back, that this card has become unnecessary. I disagree. I still think this card is very much worth running, and I'll show you why. This is going to be a bit more of a souped up version. I lucked way the hell out here and got Ducks, but so I'm going to go ahead and send Phalanx off to the graveyard, and I don't have everything I need to game him. So I'm going to go ahead, do my usual stuff. You guys know the drill. Ducks into Phalanx for Vajrayana. Vajrayana's going to grab Phalanx. But now I'm going to do things a little bit differently. Now I'm going to go ahead and equip both my Spear of Destinies. You really only need one. I just kind of felt like being that guy. Grab Brandisock so I can attack twice. Use his effect to send Phalanx back to the graveyard so that I can double my attack. And I can just poke for game. Plus, Spear of Destiny manages to give me immunity to traps, so yeah, like I said, real quick OTK. Anyone who tells you this card is not worth it, they are lying. They do not know the power. Next, I'm going to show you the Dragunity's, not necessarily their best move, but their biggest move. Their Wombo combo. God, why does this never start me off on the right side? Alright, so I actually almost had everything. Actually, no, even from here I had everything that I needed. So I'm going against a Necros player. This guy, honestly, when I realized that I could do this, I was terrified he was going to rage quit on me. Because it's like, no, I'll never get this good of an opportunity again. I can't lose this. So I kindly asked the guy to not quit and at least let me do this. He did rage later on, but he at least let me do this. Okay, so it starts off with your usual Ducks Phalanx play, but this time I'm going to go for Guy Dirge. Need that +1 free discard so you can get Garuda. Gonna tribute Guy Dirge for Mistletoe, get Phalanx. Banish for Garuda, so you can now get Vajrayana. Vajrayana's going to grab Phalanx. Phalanx is going to do his thing. You're now going to overlay these two into a Tum. Tum will grab Red Eyes from the deck. He's going to be 0/0, unfortunately, but we can fix that. First, grab Guy Dirge. Use Guy Dirge effect. Grab Zephyros, send Zephyros. Zephyros effect. Bounce Red Eyes, summon Zephyros. This guy can't attack, so you know what? We're going to banish him for Red Eyes. Also, go ahead and sync for another Vajrayana with that. Now we're gonna do this. Red MD grabs another Vajrayana, or Mistletoe, doesn't matter. Go for M7. M7 grabs Garuda again. Garuda will banish, who cares? And go for one more Vajrayana, the third and final one. Grab Phalanx, and now we're just gonna typical Synchro Ladder. And for whatever. That is the Wombo combo. It's pretty much all I have for this, but I guess I'll just let the rest of it play out just because. Unfortunately, it wasn't an OTK because he had Valkyris, but, you know, that's still the combo. It's rare you get to do it. It's not necessarily the best idea because I used up half my extra deck just to make it happen. But it's a very formidable offensive lineup here. So he gets a Trish, does the obvious stuff, gets rid of the Phalanx in my grave, the Red MD, which is the only real threat that there was to him in my hand, or on the field. And he got rid of the debris dragon in my hand by coincidence, which kind of upset me. I kind of wanted him, but whatever. So he's just going to go ahead and do Necross stuff. I barely followed what the hell he was doing, to be completely honest. So, at the risk of doing something really stupid, I decided to go ahead and actually use M7's effect here to try and bounce Trish, but he had another Trish to tell me no. I guess he didn't feel like banishing more of my stuff. I don't know. Like, alright, fine, I'll just clash with it. I don't care. Well, he had another Valkyrus, and I honestly forgot I saw him grab it, so that happened. So, he draws. He now has 2 cycles. He uses Colossus to get another Necros Mirror, and then he just Rage Quit there. Inevitably, there wasn't really a whole lot he could do with this hand, and he knew I was going to get him, and then he couldn't really recover that easily, so whatever. So, now we're going to start the real duels, now that we've gotten the OTK demonstrations out of the way. Wrong side. There we go. Alright, so this guy was kind of tricky to work around, because you can see he's working some sort of different dimension sort of thing. He decided to go ahead and go for his Pot of Duality, and rather than getting the Dimensional Fissure I saw him pull out there, he went for a Dimensional Fissure that I saw in there. He went for the Dimensional Prison, which I knew I could work around. The D-Fissure would have caused me a lot more problems. But then again, he also didn't know I was working with Dragunities, which is very graveyard reliant. Oh well, you know, hindsight and all that. So I know that the D-Prison is there, so I'm thinking, alright, let me just see if I can kind of play around it, set up a monster that I can afford to lose, rather than going for something big like my Stardust, or something like that early on and losing it. So he tried to Thunder King Ryo me, and that would mean Ravine was worthless, so I had to bottomless that almost immediately. I could not afford to let that stay out. So, as much as I wish I could have used the Divine Lance there, as I have recently, I just showed you guys can OTK, I figured that the Armor Missile thing would be a bit more worth it. Especially since I knew I wasn't going to be able to OTK with that monster in defense mode. So, tempting as that would have been, I wasn't really able to do that, because I would have needed an Atlas in the graveyard as well. So I just decided instead to go for a rank 6 play, get an M7 out there, return Ducks to my hand so I can do some more Synchro stuff. And I hit the DD Warrior, but it's not really that big of a deal to me. M7's really only there for the Wombo combo that I showed you guys, and just recycling purposes, and he did that, so. Plus if it baits out some of his stuff, so I can use the cards that are, for me, a bit more important, then I'll happily take that. I drew into a Harpy's Harpist, which is kind of nice. This really does show how good this card is. I used it for the discard for Ravine, so I could put a Phalanx in there, since my other one had just been banished by DD Warrior Lady. So I had a new one there, and because she was, because Harpy Harpist was sent there this turn, I knew that during the end phase, I'd be able to search out another Duck, so it's kind of like a twofer. I decided this turn to just go for a Guy Dirge and set up a Zephyros in case I needed it, and hopefully get rid of the D-Prison, but use Memory and Adversary instead, so I knew that was going to bite me in the ass in a little bit. He's still just setting monsters. I kind of figured most of them would be a bit of a problem, but nothing too big. I drew into another Harpist, but I'm out of Ducks to search, so I just figured I'd use this as, again, hopefully the DD Prison removal, but instead I just punched another DD Warrior, and now he gets my Guy Dirge. So I knew I was going to be taking 24 to the face, but I'm still at full life points, so I can afford 24 to the face. He does that. We are now on equal footing. Fortunately, I drew into an embassy. I'm like, finally, I can get rid of this damn D-Prison. What I ended up getting rid of is the second Memory of an Adversary, which was pretty good, because I knew that was going to be a bit of a problem. Now, rather than going for a Synchro ladder play, I decided I was going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Castel. Use that, get rid of the Guy Dirge, put him back in my extra deck so I can get him later, maybe. And finally get rid of that godforsaken D-Prison. It was on a used-up Castel, so really I did not care. Of course, then he draws a Mirror Force, which is equally a big of a problem, but I didn't know he had that. But for now, it does not cause too big of an issue, because I have a way around it. Go ahead and replay Ravine after I send it back to my hand with Sephiroth. Summon Legionnaire. This was kind of just me being optimistic, thinking maybe sending Atlas via Synchro Summon would make a difference, but it didn't. So I went for an Armades, so that way I didn't have to worry about his back row during the battle phase, and any monster effects that activate during the damage step, or before the damage step, wouldn't matter. So at this point, I know I kind of have a good lead on him. I know I can actually start to make a difference, just keep punching with Armades. And he didn't activate the back row prior to, so I know it can't be anything that's that big of a deal. So at this point, he's just going to start segging things in the hopes that, I don't know, it'll help him stall for time or something. And so he does that. I'm still just mowing through them with Armades, since quite fortunately most different dimension monsters aren't too terribly good defensively. Unfortunately, this upcoming turn is kind of where I made a bit of a mistake. I summon Guard Trooper, activate his effect, just kind of hoping to, I don't know what, just get some damage in. And I attack with him first. And that's when he activates the Mirror Force and gets my Armades. I should have attacked with Armades first, but, you know, hindsight and all that. But I managed to draw Garuda through his destruction and just get Garuda out so I can have some field presence and not die. He brings out Caius, and then for whatever reason decides to use that to banish my Dragon Ravine. I really don't know why he did that. I had no searches with that left. But I guess he didn't know that. So I draw into my second MST, which lets me get rid of his warning, which I was very grateful to find out. I just figured, hell with it, let's Soul Charge. I know I can't do anything about the Caius now, but if I set up a good enough field that Caius can't run over, I'll be fine. So I go ahead and spend 3k to get these guys back, use the Brandistock in my hand, and I go ahead and do my Synchro Ladder stuff. You guys know how it works. Then I go for Clear Wing Synchro Dragon and Stardust Dragon, and pass. Because I figure they're both 25, so there's no way Caius is going to be a big deal. He draws into a DD Crow, sets that, and then he quit, because really there was nothing he could do at that point, and I can't really blame him for that. And now, moving on to the final duel. This was me against an Infernity player. I have great respect for anyone who plays Infernities, but this guy was just a little, always get to the right side. First of all, just please note the 53 cards remaining in his deck after his first 5. So this guy was running like a 58 card deck in Infernities of all things. So I was really confused what this guy was up to. I just decided to, you know, do my usual business. Unfortunately, I didn't really have the greatest setup in the world, but I figured if nothing else, I could at least get an Armades out there and just kind of start working around his back row. So that's what I did. Just kind of beat around that. And his back row was actually in these Infernity Force and Infernity Inferno, neither of which would have really made a difference with that setup that he had. He went ahead and activated the Inferno. I still don't get why people, like, I get why people run it, but to me, it's just a waste of deck space. So he starts doing his Infernity things, using Necromancer, grab Archfiend, Archfiend searches Launcher. Then he activates General, which really confused me, because why would you run anything higher than level 4? But, I don't know, maybe I just don't understand Infernities as well as I like to think I do. So, I wanted to stop the Void Ogre from coming out by using my Face Down Book of Moon here to flip his Infernity Avenger when that came back. But for some reason, it didn't let me activate it when it summoned, so oh well. I knew I could still work around it because I had the Raigeki in my hand, and one way or another that thing was going down unless he did something, depending on how he did it. So, all this happens. He gets a pretty good setup, honestly. Much as I'm trashing this dude, I had to admit, this opening play was pretty good. So he brings me down to 34, less than half my life points pretty quickly. But again, I know I can get rid of this, so first things first, bait him out with Book of Moon, try and flip that. He either has to stop it, or realize that he can't stop any further things that I do. And regardless, he still can't stop the Raigeki. He does use Bishop's effect to save his Necromancer and Balmung to get Archfiend so that he can search out an Infernity Mirage for the following turn. I just decided to go ahead, grab ducks, you know, do duck things. I can understand why people aren't biggest fans of communities because they're repetitive. I can see that, but it's really just the ducks phalanx thing. Ironically, this dude was actually telling me that if I did not, like, this was going to be my last turn, like, in the chat, and then I brought out Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. I didn't think he saw that coming, because he really can't recover from this as well as he would have liked to have believed. I guess, like, without me doing, I guess he was counting on his field not changing at all, and me somehow not being able to get rid of a Necromancer and an Archfiend, which realistically is not a difficult thing to do if you have half a clue what you're doing. But I kind of at this point got the feeling that this guy was just kind of cocky and arrogant and didn't really know what he was doing that well. So I just continued to kind of wail on him with Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. I could have used Ravine, but I didn't really want to get rid of Phoenix Wing Wind Blast or Soul Charge, especially since Soul Charge has helped me so much with the different dimension person. So he continues to do this. I was very confused as to why he had Beetle, but less so when I saw he had flippin' Destroyer. And this was, for me, the moment I really realized he had no idea what he was doing. He used a Catastor in an attempt to get rid of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. I realize it's been a while since anyone's really used a Catastor, but it does specifically say non-dark. You can see, he's a dark. More than that, I was still, again, just also trying to wrap my mind around the whole Infernity Destroyer thing. I mean, he's not that great of a card. He's really not. So he does this. I decide to Phoenix Wing Wind Blast him and set him back a turn, but he then deck devies me. And instead of calling spells, as would have been the obvious choice since I already had Ravine out, he decided to apparently call traps because nothing happened. And oh, my bad. I forgot how deck devy worked, apparently. I'm thinking of the wrong card entirely. That explains why nothing happened. I'm really curious why he did that then. But anywho, so I managed to do all this. I decided I didn't really need to synchro just in case something like that Mirror Force happened. And since I had Phalanx, that meant I was covered for that. And thanks to the Harpist that I managed to drop with Ravine, I again managed to get Ducks. This is why I like Harpist. Harpist is just an amazing card for this deck. It really is. So this guy gets Curry Bandit, and he gets a decent setup. His best options, his only options really were Dark Bribe and Infernity Barrier. And for whatever reason, he picked Barrier, even though Bribe would have been the infinitely smarter choice. But no, he went for Barrier. I cannot even comprehend why he did that with no Infernities out. But again, it wouldn't have made a difference. I had the Phalanx, and he knew I had Ducks, so I could have easily OTK'd him here. Actually, no, I couldn't have, but even then, he couldn't really have recovered from that. So, my heart goes out for you for trying to play Infernities, but my god, if you clearly weren't the most clueless Infernity player ever. But that's all I got for you guys this week. Next week, I'm going to go back to taking viewer requests for Throwdown Thursday. I already have 2 lined up, so I'm going to work on those. One of which I'm already kind of familiar with. The other one's going to take me a little bit. But yeah, so look forward to that. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below about how my Dragunities did. If you think there's any potential additions I can make to them to make them even better. Any tech choices you think are a little odd or whatnot. And any decks that you would like to see me do for future editions of Throwdown Thursday. So that's all I got for you guys now. Don't forget to also like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.